Being a solo in a dangerous dystopian world can be a tricky business. One mistake during a mission and the chances of survival go down to zero. But among those solos there are people who rose through the ranks to be the best of the best, and one of them is Morgan Blackhand, the solo's solo. During the 80s in the Cyberpunk universe and the world, it was a wild time. Constant conflict and chaos, changes in climate causing droughts and social unrest started a series of cascading events which led to the dystopian universe of Cyberpunk 2077. And among those in chaos, there was Morgan Blackhand. Not much is known about his childhood, and the earliest records show that he was a soldier serving under the US military during that time in the 80s, so it can be assumed that he was maybe born in the 60s or around that time. Morgan also didn't have it easy. During his initial time in the army as a rookie, he had to stand up and lead his unit after the commander actually went full cyber psycho. Chaos combined with cyberware is not a good idea, especially for those with a weak mind. That's why you have a lot of veteran soldiers going back home and going full cyber psycho. New problems started for Blackhand when he left the army. Being trained as an elite soldier and a veteran, you can't just go back and do some boring job every day, and the chances of getting hired are slim. But luck turned when he was attacked by some gangers, and after using his particular set of skills to dispose of them, he was spotted by a Militech recruiter who hired him, so now the history between him and Militech can begin. Being one of the top organizations in the world which trades equal blows with Arasaka, Blackhand quickly rose through the ranks to be hired for top missions and gigs. The irony being that Militech is heavily tied with the new US government, so indirectly Blackhand was back to work for the feds again. But the difference between most solos and Blackhand is that he was known to catch his targets alive, without necessary violence, using his intelligence to navigate through enemies swiftly and efficiently. It also helped when he was neutral, and having a solo who doesn't switch sides or take sides in general, or thinks too much or too deep about the mission, or ask too many questions is truly a blessing. He also spent his time writing manuals for other solos on how to survive, that being the Solo's Manual. Because of that, his reputation was known on the streets and the corporate groups as the best of the best, hence getting the nickname the Solo's Solo. Morgan was also responsible for solving the attempted kidnapping of Kerry Eurodyne, where he found and brought back all 5 kidnappers. Doing something like that requires most skill that most solos would deal with in a more violent way. And because, believe it or not, there are awards for solos in the Cyberpunk universe, Blackhand was actually awarded as the #1 solo in the Solo Fortune Annual 2020 Awards in the States. Now when it comes to Blackhand's abilities, skills, cyberware weapons he uses and so on, keep in mind that he is a very highly intelligent individual who's also trained to be an elite soldier, so his combat sense, his melee skills, his range skills, his awareness is going to be extremely high. And when it comes to cyberware, Blackhand was known to use the Sandevistan boost, neural processor and many other things, including his, well, black cyber arm, which was extremely strong, but he was also mixing with, rippers, heavy SMGs, EMPs and everything which a soldier is usually trained to fight with. Long story short, every single time he was absolutely ready for combat. The real drama with Blackhand begins with the assault on the Arasaka Tower. At that time, basically he was hired by Militech to go there and just basically dispose of Arasaka, because if there is a chance that Arasaka is going to bleed, Militech is going to take it, and Silverhand was just a match. And at that time, the only rival was Adam Smasher, who learned about Blackhand and his reputation, and let's just say that he wasn't happy since he was everything opposite of Smasher, but don't be fooled, they're both extremely dangerous and powerful. The assault on Arasaka in Sourcebook in 2077 has some differences, but I will just go from the one which is original because it's heavily tied to Blackhand. So after the tactical nuclear bomb was armed and planted, Morgan and his team started the evacuation, but then Adam Smasher appeared. And they were both ready to face off each other. Now Smasher especially wanted that. After a short fight, the bomb exploded and both of them were blown off the tower itself. And after that happened, the fate of Blackhand to this day still remains unknown. Now because Smasher survived, initially I expected Blackhand in the base game, but you have to keep in mind that he is the original and campaign character of Mike Pondsmith, one of the creators of this universe, so he is very careful when or if to even include him. But there is hope, because in Cyberpunk Red or in 2045, some reports say that maybe he returned to Elizabeth Kress, then the president of New USA, and that to this day he continues to do missions for them. And in 2077, Blackhand is still not pronounced flatline, so he didn't get a drink in the afterlife. There was a report that in a shootout in Japantown, several Lazarus members were found dead, with only one survivor having a black arm. So maybe the chances of him being in Night City are actually still quite high. Because Phantom Liberty is focusing on Militech in New USA, it would be fitting for him to actually appear in that expansion, but if he does, he will be an old man, since at this point he is 100 plus years old, and that's even if he survived the initial blast. But honestly, I just imagine him retired somewhere, probably just sitting, enjoying the sunset and drinking some beer. And this was the story of Morgan Blackhand, one of the best solos and soldiers of all time. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to subscribe and like the video itself, and join our growing community on Twitter and Discord. Also, huge thanks to my current Patreon supporters, and if you wanted to support the channel in an extra way, I do have a Patreon page. This is LKM signing out, stay classy chooms, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye.